for Manchester United, and Alex Ferguson can't contain himself. Cantona! Grealish! Drogba! History before your very eyes. Stupendous!
Welcome to the Premier League podcast. I'm Jacob Turner, joined alongside me, my good mate, Jamie Patel. Jamie, how you doing today, man?
Doing all right, man.
So we had a very interesting week of Premier League action, or weekend, of Premier League action on Saturday, starting with Manchester City, Liverpool. 5-0 Manchester City, getting a huge result over Liverpool. I'll start off by saying I did not expect that one, Jamie. What's your take on that one?
Didn't see that coming at all. I expected more of a contest in terms of that match. You have to say Sadio Mane's red card, massive calling point there from the referee. Sends him off for a high boot on Manchester City's goalkeeper, Ederson. Controversial red card as well, but nonetheless, it completely switched the momentum into City's hands there.
Yeah, I thought watching it, it was just crazy how that card changed the whole game. I believe it was 1-0 when Mane got sent off. And, City, don't get me wrong, they looked amazing, but I expected a lot more from Liverpool coming off a big 4-0 result over Arsenal, coming off an international break. I know that can kind of mess some teams up as we saw this weekend, but that's a huge result for City. And I think that really shows us how this league may turn out. I think a lot of people are favoring United, and City is probably number 1 and 2 this year, finishing at the top of the table. So can Liverpool, they started off really well. Can they sustain it? Their defense is a bit of a question mark, but so is City's defense. Without Company, he gets injured. He's a very injury-prone player, but he's a quality center back. So if he's in the team, they're a lot better defensively. But nonetheless, Jamie, I think we can agree that that's a huge result going forward, and it'll be interesting to see how Liverpool responds and how City carries on.
Absolutely. City put 5 past Jesus back on the score sheet. Aguero obviously opening up the scoring there, and then Sané comes on, scores one, scores another in stoppage time. Looking good for City, but Liverpool not so much.
Yeah, Liverpool not so much, but it'll be very interesting to see next weekend how these two teams respond. And obviously, City with a huge result, and Liverpool need to bounce back because 9 goals in 2 games, but 4 of them they scored and 5 of them they let up in the next game. So there's certainly a lot of action in the Liverpool games, the ones to watch. Let's move on to the Arsenal-Bournemouth game. Arsenal maybe getting a surprising 3-0 victory over Bournemouth. I personally didn't really know what to expect with Arsenal. You see Arsene Wenger benching Alexis Sanchez, who obviously is probably not very happy to still be at the club. Everybody thought he was City-bound at the end of the transfer window. But what's your take on that 3-0 result over Bournemouth? I know Danny Welbeck got on the score sheet early on I think it was within the first 5 minutes or so. And not the cleanest of strikes to go in the goal, but got an early 1-0 lead, and they ended up winning by 3 goals.
Yeah, the goalkeeper for Bournemouth was arguing with the referee about obstruction there, but as he was falling backwards, as Welbeck got on the end of that first goal, within the 7th minute, he just tucked it away with a calmness and a good finish. And Alexander Lacazette back on the score sheet again for Arsenal, scored in the first game against Leicester, and now he scored again, just picking up where his money is paying him. And Danny Welbeck scored again, second half, puts the game out of Bournemouth's reach there. I expected more from Bournemouth to fight against Arsenal as they held City for a really long time in that game at home before they conceded a heartbreaking goal against City from Raheem Sterling. But I think Bournemouth defensively, that game, they just weren't at it, and that's really where they were relying on their results, is how well their defence does. And they didn't stand the test against an Arsenal side who should have had pretty poor morale after being battered by Liverpool 4-0.
Yeah, Arsenal, like I said earlier, I didn't really know what to expect going into that game because you never really know how Arsenal is going to line up. Mesut Ozil has not been in good form for Arsenal recently. You got Alexis Sanchez on the bench who doesn't really seem like he wants to be there. But they come out and get a good result over a decent Bournemouth team. Eddie Howe's a great manager. Bournemouth finished in the middle of the table last year. So Bournemouth, are you concerned for them? Do you think that's a team that could potentially see the drop zone this year, or you think they'll finish pretty comfortably?
I think Bournemouth could end up being relegated this season. They've already taken up a few losses early on in the season here, and if their defence doesn't improve, then it's going to be easy for these very attack-minded Premier League sides this season. A lot of attacking options and a lot of quality up front for a lot of teams this season. I think Bournemouth are going to be weakened, and that could play out of their hands. And it'd be sad to see them go down this season. And I know it's early on to call it, but I mean, Bournemouth, if they continue this performances like these, then they'll definitely be favourites for the drop. I don't think they have quite the firepower up front. Jordan Ibe.
Jermaine Defoe recently signed, but he's getting up there. So still a great goal scorer, don't get me wrong, but he's getting up there in age. So, but yeah, I agree with you, Jamie. I was really impressed with Bournemouth last year, and I thought they kind of overachieved in some ways. But it's a team I want to see up. I really like Eddie Howe. I think he's a good manager, and I think they play some interesting soccer to watch. It's not just sitting back and defending for 90 minutes. But yeah, another big result for Arsenal. It'll be interesting to see how they carry on as well. As they've been back and forth. Losing 4-0 the week before, and now winning 3-0 over Bournemouth. So a very good result for Arsenal going forward. On to another game that, I thought was a very entertaining one to watch. Tottenham Hotspur getting a 3-0 victory over Everton. What was your take on that one, Jamie? Did you expect Tottenham and Harry Kane to come out and win 3-0 over an Everton side that, looking at their starting 11, very impressive what they've picked up this summer? I think, in my opinion, they've had the best transfer market of any Premier League team this year. It's definitely top three. Some other teams that picked up some good acquisitions in the summer, but that's a shocking result to me. Tottenham had been struggling a little bit. They were on the road. They can't seem to win at Wembley in their new stadium, but they go on the road and get a good victory over Everton. What was your? Were you surprised at that one like I was?
I was surprised. The Wembley woes continue for Tottenham. Before this result, I mean they lost to Chelsea in late in the second half. And then they drew with Bournemouth late in the second half as well. Sorry, not Bournemouth, Burnley.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was not expecting them to go to Goodison Park and get more than a point. I think Ronald Koeman has organised Everton so well. He's picked up very good players, especially in the attacking third. You've got Wayne Rooney returning to Goodison Park, scored on the opening day against Stoke. You've got Davy Klaassen, the Dutch wonder from Ajax, you could say. And you got Sandro Ramirez, who is quite a talent for an under-21 player.
Yeah, very impressive signing.
Scored a lot of goals at Malaga, and he's not really picked up that form since he's come to Everton in the Premier League. But I think Tottenham definitely deserved the result there. The way they performed, they absolutely dominated and played Everton off the park, which rarely happens at Goodison Park.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Harry Kane's goal, I remember seeing it live, and yeah, I know he even said it after the game. He was definitely not a shout on his first goal, but Harry Kane is something else. The amount of goals he's scored in the Premier League, he's looked very solid. Since he's come onto the scene, Jamie, in my opinion, he's been maybe he hasn't done it for England as much as people would have thought, but he's been one of the most prolific. I don't have the stats in front of me right now, but he's been one of the most prolific strikers in the Premier League, and he scores goals for fun. When he's in form, he's very hard to stop, and so is his Tottenham team. They've definitely struggled at home, and they're going to have to figure that out if they want to finish like they did last season. But 3-0 over Everton, that was a little bit shocking to me, and I hope they can continue to carry on this form because Tottenham's a team I enjoy watching.
And I think that is a weakness for Tottenham as well, as Harry Kane's goals. Where would Tottenham be? Yeah. I mean, if they didn't have those goals, I really think there's not someone in that team that could pick up the tally for Tottenham. Mm-hmm. Eriksen scores a few, Dele Alli scores a few. Not so many clear-cut goal scorers there besides Harry Kane, so it's interesting to see the situation with Vincent Janssen. Mm-hmm. Not nearly as prolific as Harry Kane, not even close. So if Harry Kane were to get injured at some point this season, it would be devastating for Tottenham.
Mm-hmm. Good analysis of that game, Jamie. Tottenham, a very good result over Everton. Moving on to two other big results on Saturday. Chelsea 2-1 victors over Leicester City, and Manchester United go to Stoke and get a 2-2 draw on the road. Stoke, a very difficult place to play. Manchester United hasn't won there in the past, I believe, 4 or 5 seasons. So they've been struggled to get any type of victories over there, and they've struggled to pick up points at Stoke as well. So let's start with the Chelsea game. Chelsea getting, like I said, 2-1 victory over Leicester City. What were your thoughts on that game, Jamie?
It was a good performance from Antonio Conte's side. 3 wins out the last 3 games, and these are away victories, and they're crucial after an embarrassing defeat at home to Burnley, of all teams, at Stamford Bridge. They did really well to grind this result out at the King Power. King Power is a really difficult place to go and get points, and this Leicester side weren't too poor of a performance. They were good for their money, but on the day it just wasn't good enough to cut it against this money mogul Chelsea side. early goal from Morata after Leicester had broken forward. Slimani almost put Leicester in front. Chelsea come back the other way and Morata puts Chelsea in front. And N'Golo Conte gets a goal on his return as well. A bit of a scrappy goal almost. I mean, it kind of was a daisy cutter. You would have thought Schmeichel would have got to it, but he missed it, and Chelsea were 2 goals to the good at that point. Vardy got a penalty second half and tucked it away with calm collectiveness, but it wasn't enough for Leicester on the day, and Chelsea deserved the points on that day.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I thought Chelsea deserved the points there, and a team that I was interested to see how they were going to start the season. There's a lot of they sold their best player to one of their rivals in the league, Nemanja Matic. He's won 2, not their best player, but a very important player in that team. Won 2 Premier League trophies in his time at Chelsea. Sell him to Manchester United. So that was a good result for Chelsea, especially after that opening day loss, at home. So that's a big result. Hopefully that'll give Chelsea some confidence and Antonio Conte some confidence in his men as well. Manchester United 2-2 draw at Stoke City. I was a little bit disappointed. I thought Manchester United, I was hoping, in such good form before the international break, come back, struggle a little bit, probably should have scored late through Romelu Lukaku, probably should have been a 3-2 victory for United. He skies it in the end, but was that a fair result on the day? I think looking at the game, I thought Stoke really out-battled us in the midfield, but do you think it's a fair result for United and Stoke, or do you think United should have picked up the 3 points?
I think it's a fair result for both teams based on the day, but going into that match, United really wanted the 3 points. They wanted to continue that winning run and not concede. And, we conceded they conceded the first goal of the season. Choupo-Moting scores the early goal for Stoke, and he got 2 on the day, but either side of Rashford's equaliser, most people thought it was Pogba, but it was Pogba's header off the corner, hits Rashford in the back of the head, knows nothing about it, goes back in the net. 1-1 at that point, and then, like I said, Choupo-Moting would score later on, but not before Romelu Lukaku got involved. His initial shot was parried by Butland, but he tucked away the rebound. United were in front, and they looked like they were cruising after that. They should have gone for the third goal, the killer blow. Couldn't manage it, and then Stoke punished them off the corner. Choupo-Moting again, powerful header. And I think United's defence was shocking against Stoke.
Yeah, I agree.
Couldn't handle Choupo-Moting's movement, his aerial presence. Just couldn't handle it. And you'd expect more from Bailly and Jones, 2 players who can jump really high.
Yeah.
To deal with him. Yeah. And he was poor for Schalke before he came over to Stoke. Mm-hmm. And he's already got 2 goals now. Yeah,
very impressive performance by Choupo-Moting. And you look at both goals that were conceded by Manchester United, errors by Eric Bailly and Phil Jones. So your 2 center backs, Phil Jones has been in great form this season. Starting out, Eric Bailly, our best center back in my opinion. So, Manchester United, it's always a difficult trip to Stoke City. It's always a difficult trip, but I think a 2-2 result this early in the season, that's a game you can look back on and say, we needed that draw, but as a team that's challenging for the Premier League title as well this season, or hopes to challenge for the Premier League title, those are games you need to pull out and get the 3 points. So, still very early in the season, but probably a fair result. Moving on, the last 2 games on Saturday, Brighton and Hove Albion against West Brom, 3-1 for Brighton. Then you got Southampton and Watford. Watford picking up a 2-0 victory. Watford in fine form this season. What's your thoughts on Watford? And then right after that, quickly, give me your thoughts on the Brighton result, 3-1 over West Brom.
Watford, great result for them away at St Mary's. Scored a great goal. Can't remember the midfielder who scored a belter for them right outside the area as well.
Yeah, it was a beautiful goal. It was a very good game to watch. I've been very impressed with how Watford's played this season, but they're sitting pretty in the league right now, and hopefully they can continue to put this fine form together, because they're a team I enjoy watching. I think they have some really decent players on their squad that I think they can really. In the beginning of the season, I thought this was a team that would struggle, maybe even get relegated or be in the relegation battle. But how they've started off the season, Jamie, I've been super impressed. What's your thoughts on Watford, going forward and the result against Southampton?
Well, yeah, it was Decore and Janmaat who got the goals, and Janmaat's been a good signing after coming from Newcastle after they got relegated, and since been promoted back again. But I think Watford do a good job of signing the right players. Stefano Okaka, Decore is a good midfield presence. I like the European flair they bring as well, with players like Daniel Zuniga from Napoli, and those sort of players brought in by the managers. There's been a few managers since Watford have been promoted back to the Premier League, but they're an attacking side, and they get most of their points at home at Vicarage Road, but it's good for them to get good results away from home, and not just draws, but wins like this against teams like Southampton, who will frustrate you and do a really good job at defending and grinding out results. And it's good to see Watford can keep a clean sheet away from home and score 2 goals to the good. So great result for them. I think they'll finish mid-table this season, but that's definitely a vital 3 points for them away from home.
Yeah, Jamie, real quickly, last result on Saturday that we were going to talk about, Brighton 3-1 over West Brom. Thoughts on that? Were you surprised that Brighton struggled a bit this season to start off? Were you surprised at that result?
I don't think I was surprised. I think it was just a matter of time before Brighton came up against a team that they are more in line with in terms of quality. David Proper got 2 goals for Brighton, as well as Hamed. James Morrison scored late for them. Great result for Brighton, though. It's their first goal in the Premier League since the 1980s.
Unbelievable. Congratulations to Brighton on that.
Yeah, first goal in the Premier League, let alone the top flight. It's a great result for them at home. They're going to need wins at home. Yeah. Their supporters are fantastic. They literally brought the stadium that they play in today. Was all the supporters' work. So, wonderful to see for Brighton. West Brom, not really the result you'd expect from them, conceding 3 goals. They're definitely a defensive sound team with Tony Pulis, and they'll look to pick up in good form like they did at the beginning of the season in their next fixture.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on to Sunday, Newcastle United picking up a 1-0 victory over Swansea City. Jamie, for time purposes, we're trying to keep this one under 20 minutes, the first Premier League podcast we've ever had. I've really enjoyed talking to you. Been a great podcast so far. Last 2, we're going to talk about Newcastle United 1-0 over Renato Sanchez in Swansea City. Are you, first of all, let me ask you this really quickly. Are you surprised to see Renato Sanchez in Wales playing for Swansea?
I'm not too surprised. Didn't pick up a lot of playing time at Bayern Munich. Not going to get into a side like Bayern Munich right away.
Not right now.
I mean, Benfica and Bayern Munich, there's definitely a gap there in terms
totally different levels,
of the caliber of team they are. I think it's good that Paul Clement has gone back to Bayern and asked to have him come over on loan for a season. He's got those connections, having been an assistant there. Renato Sanchez is definitely a great signing for Swansea because their midfield, while there is some depth there, the players that are in that midfield aren't strong and don't possess the same quality that Renato Sanchez does. Leroy Fairs is slightly better than Renato Sanchez at this point in their career. But those two playing together, not after seeing what they performed to today, but in theory, should be good for Swansea and should provide a bit of bite to their midfield, tough challenges, and attacking, driving forward play, especially from Sanchez.
You think Newcastle deserved the 1-0 victory on the day?
Oh, absolutely. They completely played Swansea into their own hands. Swansea, attacking. Newcastle loved to sit back there and hit them on the counter-attack. Ayoze Perez was doing a lot of work up front, pressuring the ball.
Thought he looked good today,
running around. And Jamal Lascelles was the man of the match for Newcastle and the match, surely. Yeah. He prevented Tammy Abraham from putting the Swans up in front. A crucial sliding challenge to prevent the ball from going over the line. And then he ends up netting the winner in the second half, late in the second half, off the corner. A powerful header. Oh, yeah. Just got well above any other player there in the box and smashed it home. And Newcastle thoroughly deserved that away win.
Yeah, I thought Newcastle deserved it as well. I was impressed with how they set up and how they played. Renato Sanchez was also very impressed with him. He failed to really get on the stat sheet today, get a goal or an assist or anything like that. But I was impressed for his debut in the Premier League. Last but not least, very quickly, Jamie, Burnley 1-0 victors over Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace still yet to score a goal in the Premier League. Had 23 shots today. Not all of them on target. I don't remember off the top of my head how many of them were on target, but 23 shots, completely dominated this game. Chris Wood scores in the 3rd minute for Burnley. Crystal Palace still looking for their first goal, their first victory. I know I definitely think it was a fair result. I thought Crystal Palace, let's be honest, you have 23 shots, you probably should, at least tie the game. But this is a Crystal Palace team that is just struggling right now. Do you think Frank de Boer is on the hot seat? And if they lose their next match, do you think he's out the door?
I don't think he's out the door just yet. It's still early on. But I think Frank de Boer is just... It's not working for him, the system he's trying with Palace.
Yeah, it's not. It just doesn't look like it. Maybe it just doesn't suit the Premier League. I don't know what it is, but, you can't blame it on Frank de Boer today because you could just see from his reaction, some of those shots they missed today were just point-blank shots you have to make in the Premier League. So, like I said, Crystal Palace deserved to win this game, but something's up. Maybe the system, I don't know what it is, Jamie, but...
I mean, Benteke should be tucking away chances easily.
Oh, yeah, he should be. He's a top-quality striker, and it just seems like he's short on confidence this year. Like, the fact that they haven't scored a goal, in 4 games is shocking to me. I really expected Crystal Palace to have a pretty comfortable season in terms of relegation, but I know it's early, but they're in the thick of the relegation battle right now. They're sitting, tied with West Ham, who hasn't picked up a point either, in last place. So, do you think Crystal Palace will? You think they're in? Would you agree that they're in relegation battle already?
Absolutely, I think they're in deep trouble if they don't pick up their play from here on out, and they continue getting results like this. They're destined for the drop, as are West Ham. But West Ham have been a lot more promising for me than Palace have, even though they are conceded one more. They have conceded one more goal than Palace, and they have a game tomorrow to prove a point and beat Huddersfield Town. Hopefully, but. Hopefully for them, we shall see.
Jamie, speaking of that Huddersfield game tomorrow, give me a quick prediction before we end this podcast. What's your prediction for the Huddersfield-West Ham game tomorrow? You think West Ham's going to pick up the first 3 points of the season?
It's difficult to call, but West Ham are at home. They've been away for a lot of the fixtures, away to Man United at the very beginning of the season. Lost 4-0 there, and then went to Southampton, were 2-1 in front. So it's devastating results for West Ham so far, but I think they'll just edge Huddersfield Town at their stadium, at home. But Huddersfield Town have proved us wrong so far this season, and Mounier could be back at it again in scoring for them. So I'm predicting 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. I like that prediction, Jamie. I'm going to go, West Ham struggling a lot this year. And you look at that team and the talent that they have around them, it really is shocking to see that they've struggled so much to score, but not only score. They've got some goals this year. I know Chicharito had 2 a couple weeks ago, but you look at this team and defensively they're just in shambles. They can't seem to get any kind of confidence, and they're in the relegation battle right now as well. So I'm going to go with, I want West Ham to get a result. I'm a big fan of Chicharito, but I'm going with 2-1 to Huddersfield Town. I think West Ham's still going to be down there with Crystal Palace tomorrow through 4 games with 0 points. So hopefully we'll see both of them teams starting to win some games or starting to get some points, because right now they're in the thick of it. Well, Jamie, I enjoyed talking a very interesting and entertaining weekend of Premier League action. Any final thoughts before we end it?
Let's hope it continues this season. It's been surprising so far, and it's nice to see this league continuing to pick up in quality and continuing to surprise us every weekend.
Yeah, I agree, Jamie. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season, and long may the entertainment continue, because we've had some really good games this season, and we had some really good games this weekend. And like I said, that huge victory for City, that was a very entertaining match. I'm going to go ahead and pick that one as my game of the weekend, Jamie. Every show, let's end it like this. We'll have our game of the weekend. Me, huge result for Manchester City, 5-0 over Liverpool. What's your game of the weekend, Jamie, and tell me why?
I'd have to go with Tottenham against Everton. Tottenham struggling in the last 2 games, showing their authority again, showing that they can be title contenders up there with United, City. So,
I agree.
Definitely Tottenham Hotspur stamping their authority at Goodison Park, and I think that will be my game of the weekend.
Jamie, I like that pick right there. Tottenham 3-0 over Everton. That's a big result. Be interested to see how these teams respond. Both teams, Everton, very stacked lineup this year, and you got Tottenham finally starting to hit some good form. So that'll do it for us today. I've been Jacob Turner. Joined alongside me has been Jamie Patel. Jamie, and we'll be back next week talking, hopefully we'll have some more entertaining games to talk. And Champions League play coming up this week. A lot of soccer coming up, Jamie. It's the best time of year, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Jamie, we'll see you next week, guys. Thanks for listening to the Premier League podcast. Keep on rocking.